Mr. Aleph?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Dunges?
Here.
Mr. Gothard?
Here.
Mr. Henson?
Here. Thank you. Looking at the agenda, if we want to have a motion to approve tonight's agenda, do we have anything to add to it, Paul?
No, we do not.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
And
Second.
Mr. Aleph?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Dunges?
Yes.
Mr. Gothard?
Yes.
Mr. Henson?
yes, thank you. And we have two sets of past tense minutes to approve tonight. Let's start with June 27th first. It looks like we do have quorum here to approve those. If someone wants to make any comments or notes. Doesn't look like it, so if someone present is able to make a motion to approve these.
I will move to approve the June 27th, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mr. Aleph?
I'll abstain. It looked like I sat out one of those, so I abstain.
Brian, we're looking at June, so you were present for June.
I was there, but I excused myself from one of the cases. Is that okay, Paul, if I vote on it even though I excused myself?
Maybe that's why we still have June minutes to approve. I think you're right. You're
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's why we still
I
have
can't
these
remember why I
outstanding.
excused
So,
myself on that.
but so we really need Brandon to be here as a second alternate.
Let's see.
There were only 4 people at that meeting.
Yeah, there. I
Because
think
Mr.
it's okay
Henson
to go
wasn't.
ahead and approve them
Yes.
because getting Brandon here, and I think our legal counsel will say go ahead and approve the minutes.
I'm willing to take whatever blowback.
Yes.
So I'll second the, Rob. I'll move to approve. We haven't, said to.
Should I start from the beginning?
All right, I vote yes.
Okay. Should I call the roll? Okay. Mr. Aleph?
Abstain.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Dunges?
Yes.
Mr. Gothard?
Abstain.
Mr. Henson?
Abstain. No,
Oh.
sorry.
I'll check with Gary
Yep.
and see if we can't get these approved next month with the members that are present. Because I don't know that we're going to be able
Sorry
to.
about that.
Sure.
Well, I think we're going to run into
I
the
don't
same
remember.
issue with the
No,
November as
I
well.
don't even remember what the case was.
Okay, I'll get a report from Gary on that one.
Okay, so we'll hold off on that. Table the approval of the November meeting minutes as well, it looks like.
Jonathan. We've got 3 here for that. I think we could do that one, huh?
Sorry, I was seeing Ann's name on here and jumping to poor math. Let's try that again.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from November 21st, 2022.
I'll second it.
Mr. Aleph?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Dunges?
Abstain.
Mr. Gothard?
Yes.
Mr. Henson?
Abstain. Thank you. We do have one item on the agenda tonight, which is a public hearing for a major modification to Case 3, 1983. Anderson 7691 5 Mile Road. Paul, do you present your case first, or do you
Yeah.
want me to read the? Okay.
Yes. We don't need to read that because it's not a quasi judicial hearing tonight. This is a major modification. so
hearing.
we're
Okay.
good. All right, the applicant is Rob Steiner of High Tech Signs, Cincinnati, for Steve Mumbach of TriHealth on behalf of the property owner, who is TriHealth Inc. The location is at 7691 5 Mile Road, and the zoning there is OO, Planned Office. And this was originally Case 3, 1983 is when it was rezoned. So the applicant is requesting a major modification to the final development plan for wall signage on the property. At the time of the application, one was at 64 square feet and 3 were at 36 square feet. Now we've received revised plans since the staff report went out. So a little bit on the site history. Again, it was rezoned in 1983. There have been several modifications for various items. In 2005, it was for sunroom and garden wall that encroached into the front yard setback. In May of 2006, there was an addition and monument sign. There was an expansion of the parking lot in February of 2010, and then in August 2013, a directional sign was approved. In February 2018, 2 wall signs were approved, one at 71 square feet and one at 27 square feet. This particular case, in September of 2022, the applicant requested a modification from the 71 square feet on Beachmont, the Beachmont facade, to 100 square feet, and the size of the sign on the west facade, and this would be facing 5 Mile Road, increased from 27 square feet to 64 square feet. The Zoning Commission approved the modification, however, conditioned that the Beachmont Avenue facade be limited to 71 square feet and the sign on 5 Mile, the 5 Mile facade be limited to 40 square feet. And this was not including the Hospice of Anderson sign. So this was the revised plan. We did bring this back to discussion before the Zoning Commission. And the Zoning Commission felt that a public hearing was required. So this was the applicant's submittal, totaling 172 square feet. There was one sign proposed on the Beachmont Avenue facade at 64 square feet, and the others were at 36 square feet. So there were 4 wall signs on all 4 sides of the building. This is just a little bit more detail of the facades. Again, the Beachmont facade, the north facade, was proposed at 64 square feet. The other 3 signs were going to be 36 square feet, a total of 172. The maximum total for an OO office zoning district is 40 square feet per facade, which comes out to a total of 160 square feet. So after receiving the staff report, the applicant submitted a new drawing, which is this drawing here. And this drawing is not in your packet because it went out after your packet went out. But on Beachmont Avenue, they were proposing now a 64 square foot sign. I could show you. So this sign right here, 64 square feet on the Beachmont Avenue facade. The 5 Mile facade, 36 square feet, and the other 2 facades, the east facade and the south facade, both being at 30 square feet, which comes out to 160 square feet. These are the site photos that were taken. This is looking at the north facade on Beachmont Avenue. And this is what would be proposed for 64 square feet now. This is the facade on 5 Mile, which would be proposed now I've already lost my train of thought here. At 36 square feet. These are some of the surrounding office buildings. This is the building directly south, Anderson Point. These are some of the office buildings off of Nimitz View, the Donahue office building. This is a compliant sign at 40 square feet. This is the Zemcom sign that did receive a modification from the Zoning Commission at 70 square feet. This is Center Bank, which is directly across the street from the site in question at the corner of Beachmont and 5 Mile. And this is the Stagnaro, Saba, and Patterson office building as well. So we had some discussion the last time this was before the Zoning Commission. These are all buildings that are in the office zoning district. The zoning along 5 Mile corridor is office. South of Beachmont, once you get north of Beachmont, there's a mixture of office and retail zoning. And then once on Beachmont, if you're going east on Beachmont from 5 Mile, it's an office zoning district. But when you go west, it's a retail zoning district. So you see different size signs in the area. In our staff report, we tried to do the comparison of OO office and past decisions from the Zoning Commission. So our findings were based off of the original submittal, which we felt was not appropriate for the OO zoning district. However, the plans were modified. So I think in the interest of time, I will let the applicant explain their changes that they are proposing and let you ask some questions. But if you have any other questions for staff at the moment, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any questions for staff?
Based on the new submission that came in after packets, does that change your opinion, the staff's opinion?
Well, in our staff report, with past decisions from the zoning commission, you did look at overall square footage on buildings. That was a finding in the ZimCom when 70 were approved for both. Actually, it wasn't 70, because that would have been over. Yeah, it was 70 square feet. So that was taken into consideration for ZimCom. It was taken into consideration with the others as well, because you felt like, well, they could have 4 sides of this total square footage if they, based off the orientation of the building, if they separated that and put larger square footage on Beachmont versus 5 Mile. So, yes, we feel like it is a bit more consistent with past
Didn't we have
decisions.
discussion before about the numbers on the building?
Yes, and the numbers would not qualify as square footage. In the zoning resolution, it says, provided that the numbers do not exceed 12 inches in height or a foot in height. So what they're proposing is a foot in height and then 3 feet wide for the address. So that wouldn't qualify as a wall sign. That wouldn't be included.
Another question.
So does the zoning resolution gives you 40 square feet per side? Is there any consideration for where the building is, the size of it, distance from the street, speed limit on the street, or is it just standard across the board?
For the office zoning district, 40 square feet is the max. So if it's 20% of the facade, so actually for smaller buildings, you wouldn't even get the total 40 square foot if you didn't have that large enough of a facade. But it doesn't necessarily take into account, multiple story buildings, the speed of Beachmont, 5 Mile. Right.
I can't remember, Paul, but we talked about, there's couple existing signs on there. We can see one in this picture, and then I think there's, at the bottom, it says something else.
Yes.
Were those going to remain or be removed?
It's my understanding that all the signs would be removed and replaced with what is proposed.
Okay, that's my only question.
There is a note saying they wanted to keep the hospice signage, but not at the expense of this request.
Okay. So I think that would be a question for the applicant.
Yeah. Any other question for staff? No. Thank you, Paul. At this time, if you'd like to come up to the podium, if we have a representative for the application, please do so. State your name and affiliation with the project.
Do we have a podium?
But we don't have a podium.
I don't need a podium. Okay, sorry about that.
My name is Steve Malbat. I'm the Senior Vice President of Tri-Health. I've been with Tri-Health for 19 years. I run all of our real estate development committee. This is our third time back here presenting. And I will be honest, we're not moving any positions into this office so we can get this resolved. We have 3 other properties here in the community. This corner
Thank you. Brian, did you have any questions?
Paul told me to ask you this question, so I'll ask you. Are the other signs remaining on the building?
There's only the one sign that you couldn't even see when you guys were just projecting it and down. If we need to remove the Hospice of Cincinnati, which is a very, very low sign, and it's just pin letters, we'll do so.
Thanks.
We prefer not. The community wants to know the hospice is located. It's certainly a service that people want to use in other areas. But we don't have the space on that building. This community center has to be there. We have to make that building.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jonathan. Jay, did you have any questions?
No questions.
Michael, did you?
No questions.
Sorry.
For the address signage, it's 1 foot. I mean, are you putting that on every facade also? Or the address numbering, that's gonna be on every facade also? Okay. And it's based on, I think, the images, it looks like it's gonna be between the second and third floor? Up high? Okay.
Because of all of our different locations, we've got to get people.
So you stated it's your choice not to move physicians into the building, right?
I'm sorry.
You stated it's Tri-Health's choice not to move physicians into the
Yeah,
building.
that is correct. Until we can get this resolved, because we know our patients, we know where to go. We're going to go to one of our other 3 buildings. And it's not worth it to do, so right now we are.
That's actually the question I had was, is there anything else that's going to be added to the sign because of the other Tri-Health buildings in the area? You know, it's not Tri-Health Urgent Care. It just says Tri-Health. Is there going to be any other unique identification to let them know, hey, this is Physicians Building or?
Well, where our priority care is, as you just mentioned, we were grandfathered in with that monument sign, so we were just lucky, I'll say, that we didn't have to come back to something to use that. But no, I mean, at this point, our building over here at Group Health, right down the corner here, has signing, and a lot of our, we may be in different zoning districts and these different things, and we were allowed to do more, if we could do more, we would. But right now, we want to just get this resolved, and then we may be back looking at changing our district from business to retail, but right now,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, would I like to put more, potentially put up a monument sign or do something like that? Yeah, we would love to do that, but not currently.
Yeah. Thank you. Any follow-up questions real quick? No? Thank you. Thank you very much, Steve. I think we can open it up to discussion unless there are any objections.
I guess I'll start the discussion, you know, they have met the square footage requirements that's under the zoning code, still requiring, you know, one variance for the 64 square foot sign that faces Beachmont Avenue. You know, sounds like they may have future ideas on what they would love to do to increase signage, just not in the plans right now. Just to paraphrase some of the language that was used. So, you know, I think we just would have to address that when that became in front of the board or one of the other boards within the township. So with the intent of meeting the zoning requirement of 160 square foot signage total, you know, I think we're in the direction to discuss a little bit further.
Yeah, so we're now talking 64, 36, 30, and 30. Is that- Okay. You know, I'm of the belief that it's a bit unique, the 5 Mile Beachmont intersection, highly trafficked. Been lost myself, looking for signage and different things, so I'm not too bent, you know, on, I don't think this is too far out of the ordinary. I know it's a one-off, but considering with the location, and it is how it's zoned, so.
And, I think it's not so much struggle getting there for the signage, it's struggling of where the access drives are to access the property,
a whole
which
nother
is
problem.
sort of inherent to the property itself, not necessarily signage, so.
I generally concur. I mean, I appreciate that they got in at the 160 and compromised a little bit. So the fact that one of the signs is a little bit bigger, and given the intersection, especially with the way that that intersection is designed, traffic does move through there fairly quickly. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, and I agree with everything that has been said, so I won't re-say it. And I would just add also, the scale does look appropriate for that size building, so I think it's not going to look dramatically out of place at all.
Yeah, that actually, to echo that, it's one of the larger office buildings we have in the township, and to me, the application of the math kind of hurts them for that, so I stand in agreement with everyone else up here tonight so far. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve case 3-1983 with the conditions that the southward facing sign is no larger than 30 square feet. The eastward facing sign is no larger than 30 square feet. The northward facing sign facing Beachmont Avenue is no larger than 64 square feet. And the westward sign facing 5 Mile is no larger than 36 square feet. The hospice of Cincinnati sign can remain as is with no modifications, and that all previous conditions from approval of Resolution 3/1983, as well as any other modifications that have occurred since then and now, unless superseded by this application, shall still apply.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Aleph?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Dungus?
Yes.
Mr. Gothard?
Yes.
Mr. Henson?
Yes. Thank you very much. We have one last item on the agenda tonight, which is the election of officers.
I'd like to excuse myself.
Sorry.
Well, then I motion that Mr. Lewis is.
Right.
Let me restate.
So this commission has gotten out of order. Traditionally, it has been the member who is in their 5th year is chair, in their 4th year is vice chair, and so forth. But we're way out of order with this
Paul has
commission.
indicated that's Ann's fault, just so everyone knows.
Yes. We'll blame it on Ann that has gotten out of order. So, however, she was recently reappointed to another 5-year term, and it will expire in 2027. So the order, again, is Jonathan, Brian, Ben, Jay, and Ann. But we have gotten well out of order. So I think it's up to you all who you think who wants to be chair. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, you didn't even,
When I
you
rem-
didn't even make every meeting.
When I
Come on.
remember to go in the right order.
I think you should sit before you.
Ryan, I really enjoyed it when you were serving as chair. Jonathan did an excellent job, as I recall.
I appreciate it when Mr. Elliff and you did.
I would nominate Ben to continue. I think, I did 2 years, didn't I?
You could have.
Yeah.
Maybe if we do Ben one more year, but we pass it next year.
Next year, we promise.
You should do a really good job.
Unless you're not here.
Well, I remember you guys, you let me do vice for a year. I remember that, so I appreciated that.
You do an excellent job. You have a very good demeanor. Presented very well, I think. You'd be terrific.
I'm happy to do it. I'm not.
I will second Mr. Lewis's motion.
Can I vote on this as an alternate or no?
Sure, you're here. Why not?
Okay.
I don't think we have to make official.
Oh, we don't?
No, I don't
Okay.
think we.
But we do need to find a vice.
Yes,
And
we
make
do
sure
need a
that-
vice chair, so we'll have, yes, we can do it together. So we'll have Ben as the chair, who would like to, who nominate, or who's nominated to be vice chair?
I will nominate Mr. Olive for vice chair.
I'll second that.
John?
Okay, so.
No.
now
Do you
we-
accept?
Motion for Ben to be chair and Brian just can't be absent.
Right. Ever.
Mr.
Ever,
Eliff?
yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Gothard?
Yes.
Mr. Dungis?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Oh, wait. I got all out of order. Sorry. Mr. Henson?
Yes, thank you. Any other business tonight?
No other business tonight. Thank you.
All right, with that, we'll call this meeting adjourned, so moved.
Thank you all.
Oh, you were on it, Paul.